My next guest, she is a professional wrestler. She is an athlete. She is a content creator. You may have seen her in AEW. She's also made appearances for Mission Pro Wrestling. She is also the host of Side Character Spotlight. Please welcome onto the show, what is it, Miss Reality there, Madi Wrenkowski. How you doing, Madi?
I'm good. I'm also the main character of everyone's lives, so
Man,
it's a tough
that's what I
burden
was
to have
going
on my
for.
shoulders. Yeah,
That's the one I was gonna
it's
say. I'm like, but I know it's Miss Reality though, right?
all of the above. All
All
of the
right.
above.
Did that do you justice as far as announcing there for you?
I mean, it was pretty mid, but it'll do.
All right, all right. I'll take that one. I'll take it as a compliment coming from you. Hi.
Okay.
Have you been?
I'm good. I'm good. Living, again, it's such a heavy burden being this great, so it's a little hard sometimes.
Where are you from?
I'm from Dallas, Texas, so
Dallas, Texas. You're not a Cowboy fan, are you?
I mean, I think the Cowboys are like America's team, so I think everyone's a Cowboys fan.
We will agree to disagree as he asks as the Tom Brady picture is hanging above there.
Gross.
So Maddie, how's life for you? You know, you're a professional wrestler, you're traveling all over the country. How is life going for you, Maddie?
It's chaotic. I live out of a suitcase basically. Even when I'm home, my suitcase stays
Yeah.
in the living room because the next weekend I'm off somewhere else, whether it's plane, car, different states. So I think this weekend alone, I'll be going to Louisiana and then up to California in the span of like 2 days. So it'll be fast and furious. Hopefully, the airlines cooperate. I heard they have not been lately.
Oh, and delays are also a big thing.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing. Delays, cancellations. It seems like travel's been a nightmare the past couple weeks.
So what happens? So for you, you handle your bookings and stuff. You know what
Yeah.
happens in that kind of situation? Obviously, it sucks, right? If a flight gets canceled. Hopefully, you haven't had that happen to you. But I mean, like, what does that mean for you?
Yeah, I've never had one get canceled, knock on wood.
Let's knock on
But
some
I've
wood here.
definitely had delays, especially with NWA. For some reason, whenever I'm trying to travel there,
Yeah.
again, I'm just so busy. So usually I'll have shows the day before somewhere in like Texas or something. And so I'll have to fly out the morning of or the day of. And usually that's when like life and karma and reality like to hit you.
Yeah.
And so that's when delays happen, whenever you really need to be there at a certain time. So I
Yeah.
think for me, what that just means is less preparation. Normally, where I would have like however many hours before, I'm getting there like an hour before the show, have to get ready, and it's pretty stressful. It's pretty stressful.
But you're a talented individual. I'm sure a person that's as great as you don't need much time, right?
No, but I would at least like to have eaten.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. So so you're a professional wrestler. Where did this love for wrestling or why did you decide to go into this field for you? Where did it start?
So I originally found professional wrestling when I was younger. My brother was flipping through the channels. He stumbled upon a show and he saw this woman, and it ended up being China, and that just kind of what drew him in. So I was my brother's brother, so I was watching it with him, and I kind of just started doing that. I saw Team Extreme and Lita, and instantly that's when I was hooked. Just those kind of characters, Scotty Too Hottie, etc. But like any good adolescent female, I grew out of that because I was like, that's lame. And then I reconnected with it. I reconnected with it when I was in college. NXT did a Texas takeover, and they came to Austin. And at that time, I was going to school in San Marcos, so my brother took me. At that point, I had the pleasure to see an entrance by Big Cass and Enzo, and that was just like it was crazy because they literally had the entire building. Like it was a very
Yeah.
small, it felt like a small setting because it was like a double decker bar. So there's a lot of people, but it was a small space.
Yeah.
Uh, and everyone, every single person was like repeating after them. And that
Of
felt like
course.
power. And that's the kind of power that I needed. Um,
Oh, that's
So
great.
that's kind of what drew me back. And then after college, I went and I found a wrestling school.
So that was the moment that hooked you.
I think so. I think that's what really kind of drew me back in. And of course, like Total Divas was always fun because I love reality shows. So that was a nice little glimpse into the how the female world was changing.
Now, for you, mentors in the wrestling game, who would you say is somebody that you looked up with to that trained you or did not train you? Anyone?
Yeah, so I would say probably jazz.
Okay.
I was very fortunate that my head trainer, Chris Marvel, he definitely always tries to get the best for his students. So he pulled in Jazz, Rodney Mack, and Funaki. Being that she is a female, she was one of the first females that I've worked with, and she's Jazz. I do remember as a child, she terrified me because she was literally just throwing girls around. So to meet
Yeah.
her, it was very daunting. I don't think she realizes the aura that she holds and all like what jazz encompasses. But she probably has been the longest and most, I think she's had the heaviest hand in making me the kind of rude, aggressive person that I am today.
That's awesome. So, women's wrestling has definitely evolved from, I'll just take it back from like 2004 from when I started watching it. Uh, female matches were, the dumb meathead guy saying, "Oh, I'm gonna go to the bathroom," kind of thing. I've seen it happen. Obviously, it's come such a long way from now. Do you see that difference, or is it still a struggle being a female in the wrestling industry like that?
I think it's both.
Okay.
We definitely have come a long way. Females are main eventing shows,
Yeah.
not even on just like an independent level, but a national company level, WWE, AEW,
Yeah.
NWA, etc. So I think the women have definitely evolved in themselves. We have people like at the NWA, like Camille, who definitely holds herself different than most women that I've ever seen. She's very tough,
Yeah.
very outspoken, and I love that about her. And so it's nice to see women are taking what's theirs and not just like asking for it. Um, but at the same time, I think it's a constant fight
Yeah.
because you still have like that same environment where men are like, "Ah, oh, it's just a women's match." When in reality, after matches that I've had, fans will come up to you and be like, "Yo, you hit harder than the boys," and I'm like, "Yeah, I know." Uh, so I think it's still a fight that we're having because even like some shows, I believe there was a show here in like the Dallas area,
Yeah.
and I went to go support one of my friends, and I was watching the show, and there was no female matches. And that was absurd to me in this day and age that you do not have females on the card.
Yeah.
So there's still people who are stuck in the past.
Have you encountered people like that, men like that, whether it's like wrestlers themselves or just fans in the audience like that, from your personal experience?
I mean, you definitely get the misogynistic comments, whether it be from someone in the back or a promoter that doesn't want to pay you, but you find out that they're paying. Well, not pay you. Heck no, I don't work for free.
I was gonna
But
say, oh, shit. Okay.
but like they're hesitant on what you're gonna. They like try and get you to come down on your rate, but you know that they're bringing this guy in, and you know he's not cheap. And so I think in those circumstances, I personally remove myself. One thing that Thunder Rosa taught me is that not every booking is a good booking.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm not going to lower myself for some man who doesn't feel like he is going to pay me. Because in this day and age, the day and age that we live in, social media has played a huge role. The fact that you're going to pay this guy the same thing that you're going to pay me when I am one half of the NWA champions. I hold 3 other belts. My social media is 2 times this guy's. Like
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. So you're not going to see me on that show. So having having role models like Jazz and Thunder to say, no, don't do that. Like then you're not going to have me. Sorry, your product is going to be lacking. Like
A
I know my
hundred
work.
percent. 100%. Knowing your worth is very important. Someone once told me like every negotiation has like that, that point where you're like, yeah, I'm not going anywhere near like lower than this. If you want me, you'll pay me. So I'm
Yeah,
great.
and
I'm happy to
I
hear that.
think a lot of promoters bank on the love of wrestling. Like people just want to go out there and wrestle. And sure, like that's a thing, but this is
Yeah.
also a business. And
Oh
if you
yeah.
want me to make money for you, you need to give me money.
I 100% agree. Yeah, it's funny that you say the love for wrestling. It's like I guess a manipulation tactic, right? Oh,
A
she'll
hundred
do it
percent.
because I'm giving you some quote unquote ring time here. I get that.
Yeah. Or they'll be like, "Oh yeah, we'll put you in the main event. We'll have you face the champion." And I'm like, "Okay, but then you're gonna pay me like it's a championship match." Like you think about the dudes in like UFC or the females,
Yeah.
anyone in UFC, like championship matches, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong,
Yeah.
you get paid more if that's a higher caliber
Yes.
match.
Yes, you do.
So if you want to play that game, like we could talk more money.
I 100% agree. Now, for you, as I was, going through some of your work in the past, I know people comment a lot on your wrestling gear. You talked about how your brother and your mother, help out in that. When you told them, "Hey, I'm gonna go like wrestle," what was that like? Because at least growing up for me, it's very hard to talk to my family. I, was scared of the kind of criticism, to be honest with you. How was that for you?
It was actually pretty simple.
Okay.
Pretty much everyone was on board. My mother did have some hesitation, just because, uh, like a couple, well, I guess it's almost 10 years ago
Yeah.
now, I got into a car accident,
Okay.
and I shattered the right side of my face basically, and had to have like jaw reconstructive surgery. So she was just nervous about
Yeah.
this.
Okay.
Getting in a wrestling ring and getting hit and taking everything. So that was her only reservations. But after that, everyone was pretty much on board. My whole family came out to my first match, watch me get my butt kicked by Jazz. And then since then, they kind of have always been to almost every Texas show, I would say. So they're very supportive, which is nice. And then, as you have mentioned, I initially started the normal, typical wrestling route. I tried to
Yeah.
find a gear maker, and on one of my student shows that I was doing, I bent down to tie my shoe and my pants split.
Yeah.
And I realized that I am not suited for gear makers. So I was like, "Hey, mom, remember when you used to make my Halloween costumes as a child? You wanna you wanna take a jab at this?" And it proved to have been more successful and a lot cheaper than the route of a gear maker.
No. Well, let me shift to this. So you're an athlete, right? You got to be in top tier shape, right, to do what you do. What's a day look like for you when it comes to like working out, when it comes to training, when it comes to putting the time in your craft?
Yeah, so most of the days resistance. Um, I may be an athlete, but I'm also a very vegetative state person. I love binging Netflix and I love eating anything. Uh, so it is a struggle, and as of like the past couple months, there's people like Jordan Grace who you'll look at and you'll see their posts and they're like, "I don't want to go to the gym every day, but I do." And so I end up guilting myself into it, because even though I don't like working out, I do like being better than other people.
Yeah.
And so that's what fuels my workouts, anger. Yeah.
What do you like to binge watch?
Well, I just finished the season of Queen Charlotte. Um
Okay, never heard of it. I'm so bad at
yeah,
that.
it's a Netflix thing.
Okay.
Almost anything, honestly. I watch a lot. Stranger Things,
Stranger
Cobra
Things was good.
Kai. Yeah.
I thought
Um
Steve was going down. Spoiler alert for people. I mean, you gotta say it, man. I mean, but it was a good show. It was a good show. I wish they, axed off a couple more main characters.
for real. Um, but yeah, Cobra Kai. Um, I can't even think of anything off the top of my head right now that I think you might know.
Yeah.
Uh,
Do you ever go to any WrestleManias in your lifetime? And you know, obviously it's the craft you enjoy.
no,
No, not yet.
unfortunately not. No. Yeah, unfortunately not. Just when we were growing up, there was like four siblings, so it's not like
Yeah,
monetarily attainable. I think the only wrestling shows that I've actually been to, like as a fan when I was growing up, was a like SummerSlam live tour,
yeah,
um, and then that NXT in Austin. So I never actually got to experience like wrestling like that
yeah.
until I got into wrestling. I've gotten to fortunate enough to work with some of these companies and be backstage while these shows are going on, and sometimes they let you slip into like one of the
Yeah.
I can't even think of the word, and so you get to watch the show live.
The little areas there, little viewing
Yeah, the
area.
little areas.
Now, what's the goal, Maddie? What's your goal here in the wrestling game?
My goal is to, just keep doing this and hopefully people will start to realize how great I am and then I'll just keep climbing up that ladder and embarrassing everyone below me.
Is there like an end game where you want to get? Because obviously you can correct me here if I'm wrong here. I think when you say like I'm a wrestler, right? I think people automatically say, "Oh, that means you want to get into the WWE." Of course, right? It's a huge the biggest, wrestling organization in the world. Is that an end game for you?
I mean, if it ever became available, if I ever got the opportunity to showcase myself there, definitely. I think I've said this in other interviews, but WWE is what made most people fall in love with this sport. So, of course, to go back to the origin, to go back to where it started for most of us would be incredible, especially with all the minds that they do have there.
Do you have a favorite wrestling match?
Oh,
That's not
see,
your own. That's not your own.
wow. Um, I mean, I personally, I like a lot of moments, and
Okay.
like rapid fire-esque when you first said that. One of my favorite moments, as stupid as this is, to some people, is when Cass betrayed Enzo and he cried that one gangster tear. I don't know why that always just sat with me, but it did. I think it's because they're the ones who got me back into it. And they literally like they got me back into the sport. I have their merch. Um,
Okay.
so I literally fangirled over them. And so to be able to have a segment like that, evict, I don't think that's the word, invict, some type of emotion.
Yeah.
I like that. I thoroughly enjoyed, I don't know if you watched Dynamite last night. I was
No.
sports entertained by the tag match between MJF, Adam Cole, and Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara. So I enjoy being entertained. Unfortunately, I imagine you're looking for some like WrestleMania 27 or something like
No,
that.
no, 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 no. Here's the thing, though. I mean, there's I think I was talking to a journalist about this. I think people tend to point to like the very big events where they say favorite moments or top moments in this or top moments in that. When in reality, there's just too much like product going around. Where I mean, you can't just say like, oh, the top 10 moments in this, and you're just really judging it off WrestleManias because wrestling's going on every single week. There is a lot of product. I will tell you this, one of my moments, and it's just funny because I mean, what it took to get me there. I drove about so WrestleMania 30 was happening. I drove, I want to say about 18 hours with a buddy of
Mhm.
mine to because I grew up in Brownsville, Texas. I'm from San Antonio now. So I
Oh, okay.
grew up, yeah, I grew up in Brownsville. So I drove all the way to Louisiana, and I was a big Undertaker fan. So I went there. I was so excited. I was sober. I wasn't 21 yet. I was very sober. I was ready to take in the moment. And I remember my friend next to me like saw me. I was so excited to watch the Undertaker wrestle. I'm like, I'm gonna see the Undertaker like win live, and it's gonna be great. And that was the one where Lesnar broke the streak, and I was just shell shocked because I didn't
Dang.
think it was something that was possible. The Undertaker streak, it's something that,
Yeah, it's the
it's
Undertaker.
cemented. Yeah. I didn't think,
Dang, what a time though to be there.
yeah, I was just like, like, I think he has a picture of me still. He hasn't shared it, thankfully. I was just like, what the hell just happened? Did that just happen? Did the ref botch it? Because botches are a thing. It happens.
Yes.
Did they mess up? That was one of the moments that come to mind where I'm like, oh my goodness. If you've seen a disappointed face, you would use my face as a poster of that. I was glad I didn't become a meme that day.
That's incredible though, like to say that you were there.
Oh yeah. Yeah. It was I didn't think about it that day. I remember my dad called me like, "Hey, how was the trip?" I was like, "Oh yeah, it was good,
I
man."
hate it. I hate wrestling.
I know, right? Like this isn't real. I can't believe this. So that was kind of like my big like moment that like stayed in my head there. I just, it's a good time. I think wrestling's great. I think MJF is one of the best to do it right now. I think he's the hottest act. I'm a huge Jericho fan. I think
Mm.
anything that Chris Jericho does touches gold for the most part. I think the Jericho Appreciation Society, man, to me, top notch. I'm a huge fan of all his work in WWE and AEW. I was gonna ask, AEW. So you were took part in AEW. How was that feeling like? Because was that like the biggest stage you've been at so far to date?
I would say so. Especially when I went to AEW.
Yeah.
When I first went, I believe it was 2020.
Yes.
Um, and it was
2020, like
right,
in December, right?
yeah, right in the pandemic era,
Yeah.
is what I think they call it.
Funny.
And at that point, I believe I had just debuted the October before. And so October to March was the short little um, bout I had with pro
Okay.
wrestling on the independent circuits. And then COVID hit. And then I got that huge chunk of the year taken out. And then we got the call to go to AEW. And so I was literally like less than 6 months in, I would say, because I
Yeah,
think COVID really hindered my rookie year.
for sure.
Um, and so I feel like people will be like, oh, yeah, you've been wrestling for 3 or 4 years. I'm like, yeah, but a whole year of that was taken away from me.
Yeah.
So don't put that experience on my belt yet. I'm still
100%.
just this good at three. uh, but yeah, so it was terrifying because that was the biggest stage going from like Mission Pro shows. They do have a lot of people
Yeah.
and they were selling out. But again, that was the COVID era. There was limited tickets.
Yeah.
They're all spaced out. So that was like the biggest crowd I'd been in before is Mission Pro. But yeah, even I guess, well, even when I started at AEW, there was no crowd. It was the other talent in the crowd, but it was
Okay.
still like millions, thousands, whatever people watching on YouTube. And so it was, and I guess it is one of the bigger platforms that I've worked for on screen, I would say, right above, I guess, NWA.
I mean, you get nervous.
Of course.
How do you deal with it?
Cry. I'm just kidding. It depends.
Sorry,
It
I wasn't
depends.
expecting that one.
Um, I mean, if it's like I start getting nervous days before, I like to eat. I eat my feelings. If it's like right before, I just try and breathe. Apparently that helps people, so I
Okay.
try and do that. But more often than not, I just get very like sarcastic. And yeah, I don't know why. It's a defense mechanism.
There we go. At least you point. For you, I've interviewed a lot of fighters. A lot of fighters have management, like talent agencies and stuff like that. Do
Yeah,
you have to handle that? I mean, I'm assuming you have to handle your own bookings, which is very different, right?
correct.
Okay.
Yes, I
How's that?
am. I am everything,
You are every.
Maddie.
Okay.
I am
So,
Maddie.
so how do you balance that?
Crying. Calendars.
Okay.
Calendars. Um, it's nice. I mean, because again, like I was telling you, not every booking is a good booking, even though some people are willing to pay. I personally, again, I am my brand. I am Maddie. The product that I put out, the product that Maddie is on, like the matches that I have. like they are a direct representation of me and my future bookings. So I personally enjoy controlling said bookings, um, because I imagine some people would be like, yeah, they're going to pay you and then book that. I, again, like to protect my mental well being here in this business.
Okay.
I will not take a booking if I do not believe that opponent is on my caliber, in the sense that if someone I think is not going to be um, on par
Okay.
with wrestling, I will not get in the ring with someone who is not trained.
Okay, that's fair enough. I mean, it's also your brand, it's your product that you're putting out there. It's
And my body,
content.
and
Yeah,
my
well, that
body.
too. That someone could hurt you, right?
Yeah, and there's just some people who are difficult to work with, so I choose not to. And some people don't like that, but at the end of the day, it's my mental health.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that because so I cover a lot of MMA, and I mean MMA, you're trying to hurt the person.
Yes.
You're like actually like hurt, injure, cut. In
Yeah,
wrestling, there needs to be a level of trust. Is that correct?
I would say yes.
Okay. Do you encounter any bad experiences? You don't have to like note one thing, but I'm saying like if you've encountered people that are like, oh my goodness, never again.
Yeah, I definitely think earlier in my career, I was very gung ho to just have matches and
Oh, okay.
accept them and be thankful for the booking. And I have learned that a bad match on the internet does not bode well.
Well, that's
Um,
true.
you will get ripped to shreds, and that's just not the product that I want out there.
No,
So I don't
100%.
put myself in positions to do that.
100. I mean, it's a every week, every day like resume going out there, pretty much out there.
Yeah, yeah, because more often than not, most promotions now have cameras, hard cams, side cams. So that product is going out not only on whatever streaming network,
Okay.
it'll later be posted on YouTube. And then now everyone's into clips. So everyone has like Wrestling with Unicorns, um, or Wrestling Tacos here in Texas, who are posting clips of matches on the internet, on
Yeah.
Twitter, on Instagram, and that's what's catching people's attention. And you have shows like Botchamania who will gladly take a messed up clip and post it for thousands, including myself, to watch.
Oh wow. So I mean, the tape gets out there. Unfortunately, I was gonna ask
Yeah.
as we're finishing this up here, side character spotlight. I know you do it on Instagram out there. What is the purpose of that? I've seen you've got some really really funny ones. I enjoyed the one with EC3. That was a
Yeah.
great one. I want to point that one out. What inspired you to do that? Where do your ideas come from? Or do you even like not prepare? It's just you just acting in the moment.
Most of what I do is ad lib. Every single side character is one take. I'm not procuring this show. Like RJ City, his stuff on Hey EW is amazing. You can tell he really does his research. I'm literally just going out there and being like, hey, do you want to do this? And go. Uh,
That's funny.
so it's all very on the fly. Um, and basically my thought process was I thoroughly enjoy like all these little segments you see on like Vine. Ugh, Vine,
Okay.
uh, TikTok.
Vine.
Okay, they were on Vine back
They
in the
were
day.
Vine. I remember Vine. I remember Vine. I remember MySpace.
But like just catching people up. Like I feel like a lot of people they aren't very quick. Not smart wise, but just like they don't have sharp tongues or anything like
Yeah.
that, which can be a negative thing. But I thoroughly enjoy things like that. And so I enjoy like candid reactions. And so I decided to do that. Plus, with like you were saying earlier, there's so much wrestling, there's so much product, there's so much social media. I have the attention span of a goldfish, a dead one, because I don't have an attention span. So I usually try and keep all of my stuff under a minute,
Yeah.
just because that's even a little bit of a stretch for people's attention span nowadays. And it's something I enjoy. I remember I was listening to a podcast. They said if you do something that you like, it doesn't matter if nobody watches it, at least you're having fun. And I do have fun because I think that a lot of people sometimes are very serious.
Yeah.
And it's my opportunity to meet these people and kind of connect with them in a humorous way.
Oh, that's great. Miss Reality, did you give yourself that nickname, or did someone else give it to you?
No, I gave it to myself.
Yeah.
Um,
Love like a badass.
it
There you go.
was, I started off with that moniker. Uh, one, because I did love reality television, but also I think of myself as a very real person. And I think most people in most of the locker rooms that I've been in would say the same. I I'm very honest and sometimes blunt about how I feel.
Yeah.
And if I feel like someone is acting out of pocket, so to speak, I am one of the people to tell them. So yeah, I think that I'm
You
very
say
real.
Maddie Too Real Wrenkowski.
Yes, but I had some good people to watch, such as Enzo Amore, who literally
Yeah.
stood in a ring and berated every single cruiserweight, and Eddie Kingston. He's definitely a very good person to watch as far as being real.
Awesome. Well, Maddie, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. I know it's tough being you, right? You're so busy. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. Where can people see your work at, follow you at, promote, plug your stuff, man?
Yeah, so I have Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all Maddie_Wrenkowski, WRENKOWSKI. Oh, also TikTok. I don't believe that one has an underscore though, but that's beside the point. All of those have a link tree so you can access each and every one, as well as Cameo, my big cartel that has some merchandise, as well as pro wrestling tees. So you can reach me on all of that.
Awesome. Well, Maddie, is there anything you want to let the audience know before we sign off here?
No,
There we go. Ladies and gentlemen, professional wrestler Maddie Wrenkowski. Maddie, thank you so much for your time.
of course.